Hi, this is Kyle with Music as a Verb, and today I'm going to be listening to Levitating by Dua Lipa, which autocorrect for some reason keeps turning into Duelist Lipa. To make it easier to talk about, I made a quick version of the track in Logic Pro that I'm going to use to refer to while I bring in different elements of the song and talk about the building blocks of the production. Let's start by talking about the groove. Alright, so the groove in this song is really simplistic, but I think that that's by design. Let's take a listen. Aside from that clap fill, this is every dance pop hit you've ever heard. The only thing I did was add a shaker on top that brings in a little bit of a driving 16th feel. Take a listen to how that sounds, right here. It's very subtle, and by the time everything's in, you're gonna feel it more than hear it, but I think that it continues letting it drive along. So, like I said, this is simplistic by design. A lot of times the funkiest drum groove is really just a straight, simple drum groove that gives a lot of room to breathe for the bassist and the guitarist and the vocalist and the horn section or whatever else you've got. The other musicians can breathe in between all of that space created by just a very straight drum groove. Because of this, there's not that much more to say about the groove, so let's talk about the chords. Let's hear the chord progression of this tune courtesy of the synth that they have playing at the beginning of the track. Here it is. Really cool synth. It would not surprise me at all if this synth was the beginning of this entire production. Like somebody had created that, someone was playing that in the studio and we're like, ooh yeah, we can make a track out of that. Because it literally never leaves the entire track. It is the backbone of this whole thing. And I was able to lift it right from the track, right? I cheated a little bit, but they gave it to me. It's just sitting there by itself in the beginning of the track, so I could grab it and have that exact synth sound in my quick sketch. Now what am I hearing? Ba, ba, dee, ba, ba. It would be like the roots, right? The chord roots. Let's take a look. Now those chords you heard on the synth put us squarely in B natural minor, with the 1 chord going up to the 5 minor chord, going down to the 4 minor chord, going back to the 1 minor chord. You'll notice that's 3 minor chords, and it's the 1, 4, 5 of the key. These are the basic building blocks of natural minor, and they don't stray from it in the song. Now, these simple chords can be just as much of a criticism as a compliment to the song, but here I think it's a huge compliment, and you're gonna see when we get to the vocals that it actually freed the writers up to expand the harmonic vocabulary of the song with their melody choices. Flat 6 altered chords are great, but not when you just throw them in the middle of a song for no reason. Now, just as easily, Dua Lipa could have given us a major 5 chord, sending us into harmonic minor territory. Listen to how that would have sounded. You, moonlight, you're my starlight, I need you all night, come on dance with me. But no major 5 chords here, I mean, this isn't a Billie Eilish tune. Alright, one last thing to mention about the chords. If you're familiar with the tune, you probably noticed that I'm not playing that really great passing chord between the 5 and the 4. This is an awesome technique, and it's a classic one that's been used in so many songs, where you take a minor chord built on mi, so you got mi, so, ti, so, mi, and you drop it down chromatically to a minor chord built on re, re, fa, la, fa, re. Now, while this example is in minor, it's actually just as common a technique in major, as in the Beatles song, Do You Want to Know a Secret? You'll recognize the sound immediately. Alright, so let's add all of the chordal information back into the track. These are all of the synths, and you'll notice that they're only playing those main chords, 1, 5, and 4. They don't contain that passing chord that we were just playing on the guitar. Nice. And then the guitar can come in with that passing chord. Take a listen. Adds it right in between. Here it is. I have to admit, I had to resist the urge to turn that guitar up in the track because it's really quite low in the actual song. And as a guitar player, I wanted to hear more of it, but I resisted. All right, let's hear some bass. So when I listen to a track, I always start by listening close to the bass and identifying the chord roots. But here, I want to use it to talk about that concept of building the groove outside of the drums. There's a lot going on in this bass part, even though it's only playing the roots of the chords with the addition of that passing chord that the guitar is playing as well. Let's take a listen. Yeah. All right, so first of all, it's slapped, making it sound really percussive, right? And adding to that effect, there's a lot of ghost notes. So those are notes that I'm playing with my right hand, but I'm not fretting a note over here with my left hand. And they just kind of add to the percussion of the track. They're definitely not a bass part. They're not giving us any harmonic information, but they're giving us rhythmic information. And that adds a lot to this part. Interestingly, the guitar doesn't do any of that, right? There's no chickas. And the reason that works so well is that there's so much of it going on in the bass part that when you play them together, they kind of lock together. You'll notice the guitar is just playing these straight chords with no information in between them, while the bass fills in all of that space with ghost notes and slapping. Let's listen to just the guitar and the bass together. See how the guitar just comes in and then out. Like the bass never stops. When we fill in all of that harmonic space above with the synths and add a little bit of synth fill that we hear on a vocoder in the actual track, we're pretty much ready for vocals. So let's do it. Okay, so I enlisted the help of my wife Nikki to sing the tune on top of this track that we're building. I love the way that the vocals function in this song because they are so simple, but they actually add something meaningful to the harmonic structure of the song, like I was talking about before. So this melody, in addition to being simple, is really static. It hovers around one note the entire time almost, which is re. Take a listen. Ba-da, da-da, da-da. Da-da, right? It's as simple as it can be. But this allows the composers to do something that writers and composers have been doing for hundreds of years. They use that static melody along with the chords moving underneath to create a different color on every chord that happens. Let's see how it functions here. We've got this note re. Well, on the one chord that is an 11. And we get that crunchy, beautiful 11 sound. I love it. Ba-da. Well, when we move down to the 5 chord, it becomes the flat 7, giving us a minor 7th chord, ba ba. And then when we move down to the 4 chord, it becomes the root, ba ba. Totally different color. Then when we move back to the 1, it's the 11 again, that crunch. So we get ba da. It's really, really cool. That one note creates so many different harmonic shades as we move the chords underneath it. Let's listen to logic, how that feels on each chord. I'm gonna slow us all way down. Here it is functioning as the flat 7 on the 5 chord. Here it is functioning as the root on the 4 chord. And here it is functioning as that 11 on the 1 chord. You get these different colors in each part. Really, really cool. Now, of course, nobody sat down with a sheet of staff paper and said, wouldn't it be cool if we made that static melody note become the flat 7th of the minor 5 chord? Of course, no one did that, but that's the crux of analyzing music like this. Not why was it successful, as though the theory somehow makes it better, but how was this successful? As in, what did it do? And what are other things that do that thing? And can I try doing that thing? Alright, so production-wise, let me show you a couple of things I did to give this vocal the aesthetic of Levitating. Remember, the goal wasn't to create a perfect copy that could go and fool someone, but rather to create something that was elementally identical to the original. So let's listen to just the single vocal line on top. So we're going to add to that a left and a right double, which is pretty much the standard in pop music. It goes from what we just heard to this when I add the double in. Helps to thicken the sound of the vocal. You don't actually hear three people, it's still just one, but it thickens it. The truth is that the vocals sound so great and so thick in the original mix of this song that I highly suspect there's even more like layered vocals in there, and probably even layered in gang vocals with a whole group of people singing the melody underneath that are added just a bit. Those gang vocals are used in a lot of other places on the track, and it seems to me like they probably just had that whole group of people sing the chorus and they layered it in just to give this really thick vibe to the chorus, almost like everyone is singing the chorus along. It's a great sound, and even though it's used subtly, I think it makes all the difference in that track. If it wasn't COVID and I could get a gang of people in my studio, I definitely would have done that. Okay, the coolest thing about the vocal production in the Dua Lipa track is that she's singing this high octave vocal, a full octave above the melody of the song. And it's more felt than heard. It adds this silkiness and thickness to the top of the vocal, but it's definitely there. Under heavy duress, Nicki agreed to sing this. So the point isn't that anyone would want to listen to this all by itself, but when you add it in with the main vocal, it helps to thicken the frequency spectrum so that you get this top end to that vocal that wouldn't be there otherwise. And it helps, again, to thicken the vocal. It's all about creating thick vocals in this production. Then when we pan them left to right, you get a double thickness. You get a thickness from left to right that widens the vocal, and a thickness up and down in the frequency spectrum. Added back in with the main vocal, we get this. You can hear those octave vocals just barely.
Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night.
Then all together we get this.
I'm levitating. You, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night.
Really cool track.
Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
So I think this is just an unbelievably cool track, and I know that I just scratched the surface of what there is to say about it. Leave me a comment and let me know what one of your favorite current productions is. I would love to take a listen. Please, if you like videos like these, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps, and I'll see you soon.